but I think it's going to work today. We'll find out. I'll, I'll find out. Nothing's working today. What? Something happened at the Post Gazette. Some some power outage. Consequently, I didn't get any of my newspapers because I guess the PG, the guy who delivers the PG, also delivers my New York Times, my Wall Street Journal, all that stuff. And when I look out my front door and see a barren expanse with no little plastic covered newspapers, I freak. So that's the way my day started. I took to the internet and printed out a whole bunch of stuff, which I then left at home. I'm increasingly becoming, I think. And as soon as you guys start seeing it more and more, let me know. Seriously, a little addled. Is Susan there?
I am.
Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Be still, my heart.
Can you even believe it?
I hardly recognize your voice. It's deeper than it used to be.
Well, here, I'll see if I can.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Early here.
No, but it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I know it's early there.
Okay.
I appreciate it. So, wow, Suze. So I was just explaining that I don't have any of my info here, but I am aware that, as usual in these times, an awful lot is going on. God. What did you just text me about Icelandic women? It sounded really totally cool. What'd they do?
Well, Iceland has had an equal pay rules in place for a very long time.
Right.
But nonetheless, inequality persists. And, for all the sort of usual reasons that that mostly boil down to women's work is paid less.
Yeah.
And in this country, we just think that's justifiable, but they pretty much don't. So I think it was yesterday, Icelandic women walked out of their homes and offices at 2:38 to show when, on average, women stop earning and men keep earning for the rest of the day.
So
and they are putting.
You're saying at 2:38 p.m., Icelandic women walked off the job, be it at home or at a place of employment.
Right.
Because that is where, from then on, they work for free.
Right.
God.
And because Iceland is so small, protests like this frequently, have great power. But anyway, they were talking about how the government is looking at instituting audits because they've made great strides in a lot of areas. Corporate boards are diversified by gender, but they still notice that certain jobs stay primarily women or primarily men, and they notice that in the customs thing, where the custom agents who are paid more are
men.
Mostly men, and the custom tax collectors are paid less, and they're mostly women. So these audits would uncover these tendencies and move to diversify within jobs, as well as looking at real reasons for differential in pay. One woman who was she managed a home health care cadre. So she had 10 employees that she managed, and a CPA in a similar managerial position in that same company earned 5 times more than she did. When his managerial job was pretty much the same, despite the fact that she was a CPA and she was a home health caregiver, which is also, I'm sorry, that's skilled.
Wow.
So, stuff like that. But they're looking at it. They're trying to figure it out, and they think that the economic benefit of easing it is to everyone's benefit, is to the country's benefit.
Duh. Duh. Uh-oh. Milt's having trouble getting us. He's
Oh,
getting
no. Well, you got me, but no one
I got
can
you,
hear.
Suze. We're here. He gets an error message from YouTube. Huh? Attachment screenshot. Would you like to? You should only. I don't know. Well, how could he even? Oh, I'll tell. I have to
Well, just-
email him. I mean, he's not listening, right?
Right. Tell him to just log on through Pittsburgh City Paper. That still works.
Okay. I think Milt's smart enough to figure all these things out himself. Because I can't do that and do the show too.
And you can't stop an email and do that to the show. No.
Oh God. Well, yeah. The difference though between Iceland and the United States is, as you alluded.
About what? 45 million people.
Yeah. Oh, I think a lot more than that.
65 million people.
No, 100. No, 200. 200
Right.
million. 200
Right.
million. That's 200 million plus. It's that tiny and
No, but imagine
and
the
a
size of that
homogeneous.
protest.
God.
And notice I said walked out of their homes
Yes, I did.
and
Because a lot of work. I mean, if you had to pay, I remember our mother saying to our father, what would you do if I were to, predecease you? And he, after some thought, said, I'd hire a staff.
which, truth be told, is what she did too.
Well, yeah, she did too when right. But he
However,
started to
if
think.
if my husband had to replace me, he really would have had to
hire a staff. So, I mean, you start to think of, well, if she weren't here, let's see, what would I have to do? Well, I'd have to, and the list just keeps growing. I mean, it's amazing. And women's work, which is undervalued, is the most important work there is. It has to do with, like, feeding people, like keeping a household functioning, paying bills,
Well, let's do
getting
subsets.
kids
Wait a minute.
raised. What?
Let's do subsets of keeping the house functioning.
Okay.
Because most women are pretty, there's an awful lot of us that are pretty fair plumbers and electricians and get an awful lot of work and things broken fixed before we ever call anybody, so that we don't have to pay that $100 charge. I mean, so we're not only the nurturers and the cookers and the cleaners and the hoers and the lawn mowers and the snow shovelers and all of that sort of stuff, but we do some, we in the home do some pretty, expensive work for free.
Well, I think what ended up happening is that any work that women did was considered
Was devalued.
Totally devalued, when in fact, if women were to stop, everything would collapse. Everything would collapse.
Just look at what happened to the role of the RN in a hospital. When the RN in the hospital was mostly women,
right,
and very few men, they were not RNs. They were nurses. They were the woman that was doing everything in the room that the doctor didn't. Everything. Now there are, RNs, LPNs, the aides, and there are male RNs. Suddenly, RNs are administrative. They are bosses. They are rare.
Wow.
They have their profile has, as more men join the ranks of RNs, the profile of that job went up, and the underlings, who by the way are paid less and do the work that RNs previously also did, are replacing RNs and still being paid less.
Right. Well, it is ever thus, I guess. It brings me to one of the subjects I've been wanting to just note. Every time I see a picture of the people in power in our country who are getting together to make big changes that will affect me and you and all of us, these pictures, usually taken at the White House, are mind-boggling in that they invariably are nothing but white
Old white
men.
men.
That's all it is. You don't even, I'm serious. Is anybody even noticing? It looks like the Soviet Politburo used to look. It is nothing but
Wait a minute.
men.
There were more women in there.
I'm not even sure.
The Soviet Politburo.
Unbelievable. It's really, wow. I can't stand it. There's always Trump sitting there, and then all around the table is nothing but white men. There's a bunch of white men. He's signing a bill, often to have something to do with, women's health. There's not a woman to be seen. Wow. All right, so let's get to, I think the big story today, at least on the domestic front, is I think Nunes is quickly nearing the end. Now he has canceled, this is the Republican chair of the House Intelligence Committee, he has now canceled all of the meetings of the committee set for this week.
Well, but he canceled one because it was in conflict with the other, and then he canceled the other.
Yeah, canceling them all. So there are calls now for him. Just get out of the way. Another member of the panel, a Democrat, said, in case you're wondering, this is what a cover-up looks like. They're just refusing, he's refusing to move ahead. And so you've got all the Democrats saying, you got to hand this over. You cannot, we are totally compromised, this committee. And today you had 3 Republican senators suggesting the same. The usuals.
McCain, Graham,
and Susan Collins.
Oh, of course. Okay.
Yeah. So when Republicans start turning, I don't know. It ain't going to go away, and eventually he's got to go. So much of what he's done
is going to go away, and hopefully eventually they all have to go.
Well, they all have to go. It really is startling. I read a little piece online today about somebody saying, I assure you, Trump will resign by midsummer. He will be gone. And then he produced a scenario. And part of the scenario is, number one, he's not having any fun. Isn't that true? He is as isolated.
I mean, that picture of him watching the
golf match,
basketball thing at Mar-a-Lago in the bar, I think he might be having a little fun.
No. That's a guy sort of on the run. He's got nowhere to go. He has no friends. He is totally isolated, and he's not winning, which is his thing. His brand, although it's doing fine because he's the president, his brand is being, frankly, tarnished because his brand is about him being the great negotiator, him being the winner. He hasn't been able to do a damn thing except sign executive orders, which is all that Obama could do because he had a totally recalcitrant Republican Congress. This guy has a Republican Congress, and he can't get anything done. Unbelievable.
Well, he has to actually try. I mean, wandering down a couple of days before, I mean, think back to what Obama did to get the ACA passed. I mean, he was campaigning. He was going across country talking about it. He was arm twisting.
Well, he had something to talk about because he
it.
understood it. The fact is, Trump he never read the bill. He just kept saying what he always says. It'll be wonderful. It's incredible. And this is after everybody's had a chance to see it, and no one in their right mind would call it wonderful. Everybody, we're going to have health insurance for everybody, get you more, less cost, blah, 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 blah. I mean,
Except for the $24 million and the rest
yeah,
of
but you
are
could
paying more.
see him flailing around. He's got to know it.
Right.
He's toast. He is so in over his ridiculously coiffed head. So in. Unbelievable. So I think Nunes, the wonderful thing is that these guys end up helping the Democrats more than they help Trump. Nunes trying to cover for Trump has actually created a situation, it seems, in which an independent panel is probably going to end up having to happen because he has shown how partisan the Congress is and incapable of a independent kind of probe into whether or not the Russians, in fact, as Dick Cheney said yesterday, committed an act of war against us. That's what Cheney called their messing around with the elections. He said it could absolutely be called an act of war. So
yeah, I mean, when Cheney and us are on the same side, we're in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the most telling thing is that there is, Trump tweeting again, what are you going after me for Russia for? Think about what the Clintons had and their ties to the... I mean, if he's back to kicking Clinton around...
Yeah, right. Oh, he's, and I was talking yesterday about the fact that this is a party, the Republicans, who really only exists to oppose. And so if they don't have somebody to turn to and point their finger at, like Hillary or Obama, they're just without any arrows in their quiver. And so you've got Obama's gone, Clinton's gone, and they still flail around trying to pin everything on them. It's just pathetic. They don't have an opposition. Right. They don't have something to oppose because they are totally in power. And they don't know what to do with it. They're incapable of governance. It's as simple as that. So,
well, no, I mean it's clear. It's clear when he started blaming the Democrats for Trump care going down. But 2 days later, someone clearly sat him down and reminded him that he had a majority, and that his own party sunk him.
Well, speaking of they have a majority, it now appears that Gorsuch is not as much a slam dunk as they thought. And
no, isn't that interesting?
Yeah. But the scary thing there is that means they'll do the nuclear option, which
they'll go further right.
Well, no, it just means that they're going to change the rules. So the only way they can get them is to change the rules that you don't need 60 votes for a Supreme Court justice. You only need 51. And if they do that, again, that's lowering the bar. It's lowering the bar because it's always been the thinking that if you can't get 60 votes for somebody who has lifetime tenure on the...
They shouldn't be there, right?
They shouldn't be
There are certain things that require
there.
supermajorities, you bet.
So, God. Another thing I want to point out off the top of my head is those pictures from Russia yesterday of people in the streets there. You wonder how they organize it. It has to be social media because it was all over the country. That Russian people came out into the streets and openly defied Vladimir Putin. These are illegal demonstrations. They don't get permission to do this kind of thing. And I was watching video of some of it and pictures of some of it. And I was thinking, we're so full of ourselves when we march, when we step out and protest our government. But we don't worry about being killed as a result. And every one of those Russians who dared to go out onto the streets was unbelievably courageous. I mean, over 1,000 people were arrested, manhandled. The opposition candidate was jailed, of course, roughed up and jailed. And this, it blew me away how courageous they have. We don't have to be courageous.
Well, I beg to differ. It wasn't so long. Kent State, the Civil Rights Movement.
I'm talking
Chicago,
now. I'm talking now. No one's being killed. Okay. You're not putting your life.
Ferguson,
You're not putting your life on the line to go to Washington, D.C. and protest the president. No, because we still live in a country that allows it. You see how so many other people have to screw up their courage to take action. And people have been noting that one of the things about those crowds that came out was that they were young. These are people who have known nobody but Putin. These are people who don't have a recollection of the Soviet Union. They just know Russia under Putin, and they don't like it. So I want to tip my hat to those brave young people. And you look at that and see where we could be heading if the Trump people get their way. The scariest thing, and I come back to it over and over again, is a terrorist attack here. A big enough one that they literally take control. They get rid of civil liberties. And sort of like the Reichstag fire, right? You just say, okay, we are in such danger. This is what we have to do. We're declaring emergency this, emergency that, and then you never, ever return to normal. And this is a crowd so in bed with the Russians that I would not put it past them if they're not getting the terrorist attack they want to create one. I'm not kidding.
Right. If the government that they claim they want to dismantle, they enslave us all. Yeah, sure. What's the point? That's what they're doing.
Yeah. I don't know. Scary. Okay, Kushner. So Kushner's going to have to testify. For some reason, he's in December having meetings with the head of the bank that is essentially Putin's bank. He was having meetings at Trump Tower with this guy. Also, that bank was one of the banks sanctioned by the Obama administration for the screwing around with the election. Kushner's meeting with him. Why? Kushner, by the way, man, that guy's got a lot on his plate. He's got to bring peace to the Middle East. And now his father-in-law has appointed him to figure out how to
reorganize the federal government.
Well, yes. I'm going to bring peace to the Middle East. Let's see, from 2 to 4. I think 4 to 6 will reorganize. And in between, I'll line.
And 6 to 10, I got to go skiing with Ivanka and the kids.
Yeah, and then I'll realign my schedule so that I can meet with nefarious Russians, Chinese, and others and do business.
Well, he was doing a big business deal.
The corruption is mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. So, over in England where they bet on everything, well, I guess maybe that's Ireland. It's Ireland that does that betting. It's called Paddy Power. It's the Irish gambling website that does all these crazy kinds of things, but people will bet on anything, and they're going nuts now trying to make money off of Trump. So they have actually hired a person whose sole job is to take care of Trump betting, to oversee all bets having to do with this wonderful new American president. So there are bets now for, when will he be impeached? Does he go to jail? Who's the next one in his cabinet to be forced to resign? If you go there, I guess paddypower.com, you can check it out. People are betting big bunches of money on this. So let's see what's happening now. Let's see. Right now, the guy who the bettors think is the next one to resign is Attorney General Jeff Sessions. He's a 2-to-1 favorite. And the likelihood that Trump will announce that alien life exists is going 20-1. I don't know. So what do you think? We're a laughingstock. We are a laughingstock. Oh. Well, okay, so remembering that there's a world out there that's going on, despite our narrow focus on Washington, D.C., there's some pretty horrific things happening. Let's start with Mosul, a name that should ring a bell. But we are apparently sending boots on the ground over there right now. Mosul is the place that we bombed recently, a few days ago, and took out as many as what? 100, or are they saying 200? 200 civilians. Women, children. Incredible. Looking for one bad guy. I heard there was a bad guy in here, so let's drop a ton of bombs on this place. And you kill all these innocent people who were being used as shields. It's a little frightening, to say the least. So we're still mired there. We're still making friends there. We're still doing the stuff we do so well, which is wondering, why do they hate us as we kill their children? Unbelievable. And we're their allies, you understand. We're on the same side, and we're killing their children. Joe's on the line. Hey, Joe.
Hi, Lynn.
Hi.
Hi. Hey, I just want to agree with you on that courageous thing, but I also think they're stupid. For the simple reason, our country hasn't been around as long as those people over in that country have been, and they still haven't figured it out, democracy. So I think they're stupid, too, because they've been around way before we have, trying to do something over it or I don't know what, and they still can't figure it out. So I give the United States credit in that way.
Well,
they're stupid.
Listen, no. We're plenty stupid, too. We lucked out.
Oh, we're stupid.
We lucked out.
We're smart enough to figure out democracy.
Yeah, but we didn't did you figure it out? I didn't figure it out.
No, I didn't figure it out, but somebody came along that had the idea.
We know who they were.
They haven't come up with the idea.
The Russian people have been dealt one horror after another throughout their history. And
you would think somebody'd get in power that was smart enough to figure out something better than what's there.
How about Gorbachev?
It just doesn't work for them.
How about Gorbachev?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, look what happened to him. He's persona non grata, and look who they've been so used to living under tyranny that they're
just like
how
about Saudi Arabia.
Well, Saudi Arabia, but also how about maybe 40% of Americans who are thinking that they want a big daddy to come in and take care of everything. They worry me. Those are people who understand what democracy is or not. They don't. And they're willing to just toss it away to get a macho man in the White House. God, we are an unserious people with an unserious president. Have you read some of the accounts of what he did to Angela Merkel when she came visiting? It makes you cringe.
He actually handed her a bill.
He handed her a bill saying, you owe us $300 billion or whatever the hell it was, $300 million, which, by the way, is not true. He was saying that's what they owe NATO. She didn't owe him or the United States a damn thing. I mean, it's embarrassing. And then sitting
there. Nor did she owe NATO. There's an agreement that they pay 2% of their gross national product by X number of years in the future, and they're on target.
They're on target, right? I mean, it's just humiliating to us.
Okay, thank you. Have
okay, Joe. Yeah. And then his petulant display in front of the cameras when she tried to shake his hand and he would not acknowledge her. He just sat there with his head down, staring at the floor like a petulant child. Oh, my God.
Nope. But he'd hold her hand.
Oh, my God. I cringe. I cringe. All right. So I'm here with absolutely nothing in front of me, Suze. Let's see. What else we got? Bzz, bzz, bzz.
Well,
I can think of something. It's a bad, horrible subject, but one that we might consider.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Here's why those meetings might have been canceled with Nunez, because the Trump administration was blocking Sally Yates from testifying to Congress about Russia.
How was the Trump administration blocking her? She's not even... Well, you're saying he canceled the public meeting with her.
Right. Considers a great deal of her possible testimony to be barred from discussion in a congressional hearing because the topics are covered by the presidential communication privilege.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, because she's got some stuff to say.
Right.
That's why she's no longer in the position that she is in, by the way, and why instead we have the stellar Jefferson Beauregard Sessions, who showed up at Sean Spicer's comedy show yesterday afternoon to announce that he was going to pull judicial... Hey, there's one of those Uber self-driving cars going right by the studio. They're back on the road. That didn't last long. So, Sessions shows up to say he's, I don't know, he's going after the sanctuary cities. sanctuary cities, pretty much every urban center in the country, and they are cities that say, we sort of value something called the Constitution, and we're specifically pointing you to the Fourth Amendment, right? Which means we're not going to be party to your ICE raids, unannounced, dead of night, knocking doors down to grab people whose only crime is they don't have the right papers. We're not going to take our police and help you do that because, frankly, our police have a lot of work to do, police work. This idea of rounding up all of these people does not make a city safer. It makes a city less safe because increasingly people who would go to the police to report crime are not. A lot of this is falling on women who are abused, and they cannot go to help, to the kind of help anyone would run to because of fear that they will then be grabbed up by another entity in the government and deported, often to a country they don't even remember.
Well, or if they are finally at the point where they are going to get some judicial relief, they're being the ICE people are stalking the courthouses.
Right.
You had a judge openly beg them to go away.
Unbelievable. Okay, so let's see. What other good stuff is happening? Oh, right. I think Trump is today going to sign a bunch of executive orders that will attempt to gut every climate change initiative begun by the Obama administration. They're going to gut them all. I mean, gut them. They're going to just get rid of them.
Undo them.
Them.
And let me, so if you had your newspapers this morning,
mm-hmm.
one of the things that you could have read about was this guy that for years and years and years in England would go out and note the first appearance of all of the plants in England as they first pop up. And he did this for years and years and years, and up through the 90s. And it was always sort of, staying pretty pretty much in a norm.
The daffodils came at this. Yeah.
Right. And there was one plant that whose name I can't remember because it's not something that we have here, and I'm not going to look it up right now. Which is the first appearer and appears almost immediately, the first in spring, and flowers. None of this leaves; it just pops right up in flowers. And for years, it never appeared before March. Now its first start date is in January. So what that does, because once that thing flowers, first of all, there's no bees, and it needs the bees.
What? There ain't no stinking bees. We kill them all with pesticides. You want
but I mean,
bees?
In January, there's
no bees in January.
Aren't.
That's right.
And then the probability that another freeze comes along and kills it is great.
Right.
And the point of the article is, as we do this to plants, and what climate change is doing is having these weird, pauses, warm, cold, and then jet streams getting frozen in place for long periods of time, and then moving on and getting frozen again.
Right.
Okay, all of that sort of stuff is what is going to starve us to death. It's crop killers.
Well, that's exactly the subject I wanted to bring up. Exactly. Fine minds think alike. You started in Britain, but climate change is already creating extraordinary havoc. What it does is kill crops, kill food, wreck entire economies. And Exhibit A is over in Africa right now, a continent filled with human beings that we pay no attention to whatsoever. And you have every humanitarian agency in the world, and I'll include the United Nations, saying, we are right now on the cusp of what could be the greatest humanitarian crisis since World War II. They are saying that right now, as we speak, as I sip my Diet Coke, there are children and women and old people starving to death in Somalia, in Yemen, in Nigeria, in South Sudan. They are and a direct result of climate change and drought that struck these areas. There's no water. There is absolutely no water. And no crops. As Susan said, so okay, these flowers pop up before the bees are there, the few bees that we haven't killed, and then they can't propagate. This will go on and on and on. What we're doing, what's going to happen is the entire ecosystem that we thought was sort of a static thing is going to be destroyed. And people are going to literally starve to death and die, perhaps by the millions. Now, when you don't have food or water, and if you have enough strength, you might seek a better place. So you're going to have even greater migrations of desperate people that we've already seen from the wars that we've created in the Middle East. I can't begin to think of a more horrific scenario. And because we're so stuck on Trump, we're not looking. The media can't cover all of this. There's not enough space or time. I mean, those that are finding that they're not getting any of their stuff read. But, you know, those pictures of starving babies, there's 1 million of them right now. And we are doing nothing except exacerbating the problem. Here's what the United States administration is going to do. We are going to gut every climate change regulation, and we are going to withdraw foreign aid, right? The very thing that would be funneled into programs to help these people. We might be I don't know. I think we're a greater threat right now to the world than North Korea, just by virtue of our size and by virtue of the chaos that we are creating. And you know what else is really sad as I come to think of it? All these poor, starving people, these desperate people that we pay no attention to whatsoever as we gorge ourselves on 3 meals or more a day. They are the first victims of this changing climate. They did nothing to change the climate themselves. They did nothing. We did. They don't have super highways with tons of cars spewing carbon. They did not cause the problem that's killing them. We did. Extraordinary. We ain't going to go to heaven, guys. I just want to tell you that right now. And did you see what Kushner said about changing the government, Susan? He said he was going to do it. We got to run this like a business so that our customers, and that's the American people, that our customers will be happy. This is how.
Oh, okay.
Okay, wait a minute. Hey, Jared, we're not your customers.
We're your boss.
Right,
we're your bosses.
Right. You are our employee. We're paying you. We ain't your customers, you idiot. I hope one of the good things that can come out of this Trump fiasco, if we survive it, is this idea that all you need is to run the government like a good business, right? You need a businessman to come in and organize this thing. Well, you got a businessman in, and you saw how well he did, Shepard, the great negotiator. Business is one thing. Government is another. It is totally different. We got Clarence on the line. Hi, Clarence.
When you were talking, hello.
Hi.
Good morning and all that stuff. When you were talking about climate change in Africa, it made me think about climate change in the Middle East, which is basically what I've read a couple of years ago, what caused the war in Syria. Migrants from, rural areas. The crops were failing. There was no water. The drought. So they were moving into the cities. And that whole migrant thing started the conflict. Well, it was part of the start of the conflict.
When desperate people move to a place that might be able to sustain them, and the people that are already in that place say, "Get the hell out of here." They see a marauding bunch of people that are going to just throw their lives up, into a commotion they're just not willing to tolerate. Ugh, this is human nature at its ugliest, is what we're going to see.
And I think I said, last week, I can't even relate to how people put profit before things like health, water, food, air.
Right.
How do you?
I don't know.
You can't even.
No. How do they sleep? I know these people who don't. I mean, all I can think of is Ryan smiling about his health care bill that he knew was going to throw a bunch of people off the insurance rolls because it's going to save some money for rich people. We're going to cut taxes. How do you get?
Well, because it's your own fault for not being rich. You could be there.
Yeah. And even the rich, at some point, need air and water. That's what I don't get. Even they need air and water, or their children or their grandchildren.
Look, if there's any air or water left, they figure they'll get it, right?
Yeah.
Well, no.
Yep.
Actually, yes. Actually, I saw a report on the news about how rich people, presumably, are building, we called them bomb shelters in the 50s.
Right.
They're building them again. They're putting these huge vaults
underground cities
with purifications and air thing, and sleep 150 armed.
Yeah, there's one being built. It's actually an entire compound, and they need a whole bunch of people to sign on to it. But they're just going to move underground. And they've got malls. They're going to have malls in the place, and schools, and playgrounds, and water, while up above is The Walking Dead.
And I always think about, we've all seen those types of movies.
Right.
The riffraff outside trying to get in, and they always succeed. The water's going to have to be fed from somewhere.
Right, of course.
And we're just going to stop it. The air's going to have to come in from somewhere. And we're out here. I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to all poop right there in that vent. see how fast they come out.
I like that idea, Clarence. That's good thinking.
Yeah, even though they tend to think short term. Yeah, we're just going to build these. It's like, so these people are going to be outside suffering. You think they're going to just stay out there suffering? They're going to try to get in.
Well, that's why, though.
Just like they're going to migrate like they migrated in Syria.
But this is why. They're going to try to get in. But this is why rich people put themselves behind gates and security, because they're always trying. They live in fear. and build safe rooms. They live in fear of us.
Of us riffraff.
Yeah,
but it never works. It never works.
Oh dear, we are in a...
There was one thing I read yesterday about, it was one of those guys, he's like some Berkeley professor, so he's obviously a hippie, saying the way he could only come up with that, to get equality back into our system, financial equality, all that equality, it's like a nuclear war or something. Something devastating disaster. So that's what always happens, some kind of pandemic, or, huge war, a bunch of people getting killed, and then they come back and equality comes around, and then we go back to where, it's like a yo-yo or a roller coaster, up and down, up and down, up and down. But if a nuclear disaster, I can see it.
No, I mean, increasingly we can all see some dystopian reality. You really can. I mean, we're living in a frigging bad movie right now. We really, really are. You can't. I mean, we got a president who looks like. I mean, he looks like he could be the bad guy in a Batman movie, right? He
he's got the complexion of a bad guy and the hair.
And the hair. Yeah. I mean, he could be like the Joker or something.
Oh, no, the Joker was a freaking genius.
So he should only hope to be the Joker.
He should only be as smart as the Joker.
Oh,
Bannon is more like the Joker.
Okay. Evil geniuses. But you just wonder what is with people who think the purpose of life is to get as much as you can. What a soulless way to spend your precious life. I'm gonna get mine. And look at the Republicans. That's where they are. That's where they are.
I love that the fact that they have all the power. You were talking about yesterday, and have no clue what to do with it.
They don't know because they just want it, but now they've got it, and they don't know what to do with it because all they know how to do is say no, and
a nerd.
But
so only a nerd like me will remember this episode of The Roadrunner, where the coyote finally caught the Roadrunner.
Yeah.
And he just turns and says, I got it, now what do I do? Because the Roadrunner somehow, he shrunk down to he had like a shrink ray that hit him, and he caught the Roadrunner, and now the Roadrunner is this huge thing, and he's got him by like a toe. That's why I caught him. Now what do you want me to do?
Well, you know what? That's why everybody is talking about Trump and the Republicans as the dog chasing the car that finally got the car. Oh, yeah. Shit. Oh, shit. What do I do? Same thing. Always good to hear.
You retire.
Yeah.
A car joke.
Oh, ha.
Retire.
Yeah.
Okay, you're out of here. You're out of here.
Okay. All right.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Chuck writes, Lynn, a couple of things. Looming on the horizon is, once again, an increase in the debt ceiling. Without it, you will see another government shutdown next month. Will Trump let the government shut down, or will he deal with the various factions of the House to get the 216 votes necessary to raise the ceiling? I don't think that Trump and Ryan are capable of getting anything done. So I don't know. Can they get 216 for anything? I have no idea. None whatsoever. These guys are absolutely in over their heads. And Joe Ellen says, Dear Lynn, sell your Exxon stock. Been reading the U.S. News and World Report story about a New York Attorney General's fraud investigation. It's too complex to summarize here, but it involves lying in SEC filings and missing emails that were written by Tillerson under the name Wayne Tracker. Why do these guys always have pseudonyms? My real name is Rex Tillerson. At least we think that's his real name. But my other name is Wayne Tracker. The story is posted on MSN. So glad we have Susan back. I think I've seen some stuff about the Wayne Tracker stuff. And you know what? The head spins. I thought, no, I just can't. I can't fit that one in now. These guys are almost without exception. These are treacherous and lying criminals. I'm sorry. How many are going to end up in jail? That's what I can't wait to find out. How many are going to end up in jail?
Well, I don't know. Don't hold your breath.
All right. I understand that. I understand
We don't
that.
put those kind of criminals in jail.
Oh.
Unless they're Martha Stewart.
Oh, yeah. That you can do. Go after that woman who somehow found herself in a position to have wealth and power. Okay. Well, God knows. So, Susan, I don't know. You coming back to, I know what I read. This effort by Nigel Farage. Did you see this? The jerk behind Brexit and the good friend of Donald Trump's, right? Nigel Farage has been hired by some operators who are going to try to get a referendum through in California that would split it into 2 states. And if you're thinking that they're splitting it horizontally, they're splitting it vertically. So this is, and literally people are putting...
coast.
Right. The elitist coast would be one. And let us point out that the elitist coast is on the wrong tectonic plate. So eventually the elitist coast is going to be ripped away.
Fall into the ocean.
Right. So...
Well, this isn't going to happen.
No, but ain't it interesting how they... there was some quote of his. This is why, damn it, I don't have my papers. There was a quote he said about these elitists, and they control the government in California, and look at the disaster. Look at the mess. This is the 6th largest economy in the world, and look at this mess. And I thought, excuse me? How does
look at that.
How does one follow the other? You're saying that a single state in the United States has managed to create the 6th largest economy in the world, and you follow that fact with what a mess they've made? How? I guess they just rely on stupidity of people. I don't understand.
Well, yeah, I have to tell you, if you drive around here for a while, I mean, the state of the roads is just wonderful.
I know. Well, they don't have, in Southern California, they don't have freeze and
weather.
thaw.
They don't have weather. They don't have the freeze-thaw cycle, so that's part of it. But,
so I was going to ask you, though, you're about to decamp, aren't you?
Yeah, I'll be.
Next
time we talk, I'll be on Central Time.
You'll be back in Chicago next Tuesday?
Actually, no, I won't. I'll be in Green Bay.
Oh, jeez. Next Tuesday, you'll be in Green Bay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Back in the...
And then the Tuesday after that, I will be back in
Chicago. Okay.
And then a few...
Don't even bother going ahead, and then you'll be in Timbuktu. Well, we're all moving around. That's what you do these days. But I'm glad you're coming back. I know you're not. You're.
Well, I'll be glad when I get there. But this is I'm not gonna lie. It's a nice life here.
You were made for retirement. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, your dog, however, has gotten back to Chicago, right?
Yeah, he's on strike. My daughter's been.
How'd he do on the trip back? Yeah? Why
he did great on the trip back. Because he loves Brennan. I mean, so right
Susan
now,
had a nephew drive the dog there and back. Yeah, he loves the guy. But then when he got dropped off at his own home, he said, "Fuck this."
Well, no, he loves being home, but I'm not there, so he's not sure where I am. I sent some clothes home in the car with him. When Leah opened up the bag, he got very excited because he smelled me. He thought that meant that I was around, I guess. But she's been taking him to daycare, and today he refused to. He's been there twice now, and today he refused to go in.
Oh.
So.
Oh, God. Maybe he read about those Icelandic women. He's staging his own little protest and strike.
I'll be home soon. It'll all be fine.
Man. Okay, and I just want to remind everybody that if you want, there's a great ACLU event. I'm looking for the exact information. On Thursday, and you're invited at the August Wilson Center on Liberty Avenue. And the National Legal Director of the ACLU, so the guy who, I think he's sort of busy these days, the National Legal Director of the ACLU, David Cole, will be speaking at what is actually our Pittsburgh ACLU's annual meeting. But we invite everybody and always have some extraordinary speaker, and this guy will be. So if you want to hear from the horse's mouth on the front lines of the battle and the resistance, get yourself over there to the August Wilson Center this Thursday at 7. They do a little teeny bit of business at the beginning, which nobody likes, and then they get to the speaker. And if you're really, I can't think of anybody I'd rather listen to right now than this guy. Tried to get him on the show, frankly, before, but he has some other things to attend to, which I completely understand. So enjoy the warmer weather. Susan, finally spring is here. And
that's good.
You'll be coming back to the Midwest at the right time. So
well, that's the plan.
Yes, really, safe travels. Safe travels.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and thank you for hanging in there and making it on the show today. All right. Susan, talk to you next week from... You cut her off. Susan's gone. And so I guess that's it. All right, guys. That's it. Someday we're going to have an entire week of uninterrupted, unmessed up show. And then we will pop champagne for that. So thank you very much for joining us, and I'll see you tomorrow. Toodle.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.